So here we are in the studio. I know it looks an awful mess, but if somebody ever tidied it up, I'd never be able to find anything. These are a couple of pieces of roofing copper I have to put away, as I'll find them when I need them. As you probably can see, I like to do lots of different things. I like painting, I like printmaking, I like so many things, I like to do all of them. That doesn't mean all of them are done equally well, but they are the things that I enjoy doing. When I retired some years back, I said every day will be Sunday. Well, I work every Sunday. In fact, I'm out here every day. Even if on occasion I don't have something special to do, I find that if I come out here and start fooling around, pretty soon an idea will develop or something new will come up, and I'll find myself working quite hard. It's a bit difficult in the summer. It gets very hot out here. By 11:30 or so, it's really time to go indoors. But at this time of the year, what is it, November the 4th, I think? It's just beautiful out here. Couldn't be nicer. Here in the studio, which my wife Deborah occasionally calls David's playpen, I will demonstrate some of what we do in the way of making mezzotints. There are three things I need in the studio. One of them is a good fire extinguisher, another one is a good exhaust ventilation, and last but not least, I need classical music. Most of the time what one uses to do a mezzotint is copper. Copper is the most suitable metal, although it can be, if one wants, done on steel. It's a lot harder to do, or even brass, which is terribly tough. The copper that I use, however, is roofing copper. You can also get copper in 16 and 20 gauges, and if you do, you have to bevel the edges, but I don't. I use roofing copper, which is thin, but not so thin that you cannot use both sides, and you do not have to bevel the edges. In order to produce the rich velvety black that is typical of the mezzotint, you rock the plate with a series of tools, and I'll show some of them. This is a 2.5-inch rocker. It's curved, beveled, and the teeth are here. You can see the lines, the grooves, so that when you sharpen it at an angle, they all become tiny points. There are 85 points to the inch. And sometimes when you use this rocker, you'll find that you're digging in at the ends and leaving unpleasant deep marks. So to avoid that, one can use a bigger rocker, such as this one, a 6-inch rocker. If you have to get into some tight little corners, I have a 1-inch rocker. These three are quite adequate for everything I do. There are also much rougher rockers like this one, which has only 45 points to the inch. So when you rock a plate, you end up by completely covering the surface with tiny pits and burrs. Here's one I did this morning. It took me about 2 hours to do this much rocking. And I'll just draw a quick diagram of what you're actually doing with these. If this is the plate, and you're digging into it, which you do, you throw up a burr, like this, very much like a boat going through water would throw up 2 bow waves. But in this instance, you just have the one. And when you ink the plate, the ink goes in here and is trapped there. And this, as I say, produces the richest, most velvety black that any printing method can produce. Now, if I was to push down on this burr, so that it's like this, it would not be able to hold as much ink. And so instead of a rich black, it would become a grey or a lighter and lighter tone, a middle tone, and that's why it's called mezzotinto. Mezzotinto. And if I was to take a scraper of some kind and I scrape this right off, then it's going to print for the most part white, or close to it, depending upon how much plate tone is left behind when the person wipes the plate. The other methods of doing intaglio prints, which this is, well, there are only three basic kinds of printmaking. You can print from above the surface of the plate, which is what a woodblock or lino cut is. You can print on the surface of the plate, which is basically lithography or silk screen. Even stencil could be referred to as surface printing. And you can print from below the surface, which is called intaglio. A lovely Italian word. You can print from below the surface, for instance, if you etch with acid. What happens is you cover the surface with some sort of protective coating, you scratch through it, the acid gets down there and eats away and makes an area here which can trap ink. Or you can use various other tools to affect the surface. One of them, of course, is engraving, where you have a V-shaped or other-shaped engraver, and it actually engraves and makes a groove which traps the ink. So there are other kinds of intaglio printing, but mezzotint is the one that we're talking about. So here we have a plate, half of which I have rocked and half of which I haven't. It was cleaned with bar Pieper's Friend. It's a chemical material, but it doesn't scratch or hurt the surface, but it takes away fingerprints, oiliness, oxidation, and it cleans the plate to look like this. Most of the roofing copper that I get has sort of scratches and dents, but not too many dents. And it absolutely doesn't matter, because you're going to rock it anyway. I'll show you what I mean by rocking. This has a lot of little teeth. Let me just get my magnifying glass. Perhaps you'll have a better idea. I'm not sure that you'll be able to see it, but these tiny teeth are all along the edge. You can feel them with your fingernail easier than you can see them. So here, let's start rocking. I'll leave a little space here, and I'll start rocking this plate. It's interesting to me that when I rock a plate like this, the rocker always moves towards me. And yet the people I have shown this method to and tried to teach, people who are willing to work at it, it always seems to move away. I cannot explain this. So what you actually do when you're rocking is you're going back and forth, making innumerable tiny little pits and little burrs. Now obviously, as you can see, this is only partial. Next you have to rotate it a little and start doing it again. And in fact you continually rotate it and rock until you wind up with a completely matte surface that is free of any light reflection. Now this goes on for whatever length of time it takes. You may be able to see that in fact at the corners there is a tendency for it to go deeper than you want. And that's why if the plate is large enough, I'll use my 6-inch one. This has a 14-ounce lead sinker on it to give it a little bit more heft, make it a little easier